guys, I'm going to move into creating some drawing sheets and letting you see how to navigate into that area. So down below I'm going to create a new entity or element by hitting this little plus sign next to where I had my Part Studio and Assembly, and I'm going to choose Create Drawing. Once that happens, you're probably not going to have it recently opened if it's your first time, so maybe it'll be on Onshape. And you're going to have the opportunity to choose from different templates. So I chose the ANSI size A. That's what the A stands for, is the size. So that'll be your 8.5 by 11 paper. And it's going to be in inches for me instead of millimeters. Portrait, I assume, is, like landscape first portrait. So we're going to use the portrait one. So that's it. This is not selectable for me, so I don't know if that's just a version, a feature of our free education version. So we'll place our views and do our projected views as well ourselves. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to create this new drawing element, and I'm going to be able to, right inside here, add as many sheets as I need. There's a title block already for me. I'm not going to worry about the title block for now. Down the road, maybe we'd look into creating a custom template for us. So it's already kind of pulled up this insert menu that it wants me to insert something, so it wants me to pick from here. If I go ahead and close that, how you would launch that yourself is hitting this little button, Insert View. And then I click Insert again in that menu, and it brings up this where I can choose from my Part Studio or I can choose from my Assembly. And so I'm going to go ahead and use the Assembly first and use that as kind of my cover page, right? And so the view orientation I can choose right here. I'm going to change it to an isometric. The explode position, I can actually choose to have the exploded view or the assembled view, since I had created an explosion. Now if you haven't created an exploded view yet, you won't have that feature, that choice. But I'm going to go ahead and keep that. I can change my scale. So we'll just keep it pretty simple. Put that right there. Okay, I'm going to right click on it after it's been placed, and I'm going to choose Show Shaded View in order to get the colors to come through. Okay, I can add my balloons as well, right here. It probably has to create the BOM though first. So even though there's no number right there, I bet it'll pop up if I do this first. So I'm going to insert this is the BOM, it's like your parts list, and so it's going to be for the assembly. Leave it on flattened for now, and then select fixed corner. This, I have to maybe think about where I'm going to kind of put it, so I think I'll put it right there. I'm going to choose this option, so I've got the bottom right corner as my point that I can try to anchor and attach to that geometry already in the drawing sheet. Okay, and there it is. So there's my bill of materials, and if you remember, I had created and populated that when I was over inside the assembly drawing. So inside here, I had the tab on the right where I could go in and manage that BOM. Okay, so I'm just back now on the drawing, and it's already created for me. So that's easy, and you can see now that that's in the drawing, it did go ahead and create the number for my balloon. So I could add balloons, etc. I'm going to move on though to creating a second sheet and doing a multi-view drawing. Or let's do the exploded view. So I'm going to hit that little tab to expand so I can see my sheets. This sheet can be renamed. I can right click on it and rename it, and this could be my assembly or assembled view. How about? So that's nice that each individual sheet can have a name, and right here this little button is how I insert a new sheet. And let's go ahead and rename this, and this will be our exploded view. Now, one of the things you might notice that I noticed is once I created a second sheet, you didn't have the large title block taking up so much space on all the subsequent sheets. So that's kind of nice that you're not going to have to deal with that on all your pages. So find a view that is more of a summary, kind of cover page view, for that first one, and then you'll have plenty more space to work with your multi-view drawings and dimensioning and that kind of stuff. So let's go and insert an image again, a view, and it's on assembly, and you notice that's the only, it looks like it's a drop down, it looks like it should be options. Okay, and I know that's the one I want, but if you ever want to change that, you do have access to the parts. You just have to hit the insert button and then choose again. Okay, so I do want the assembly. The orientation is going to be the isometric. What I want is not the regular assembly though, I want the exploded assembly. So it is part of the assembly though. So I'm going to change my explode position to what was just called explode 1. And I'm going to go ahead and place that view. And then I will right click again once it's in there and put it on show shaded so that it's in color. And I could add balloons here as well if I'd like, and those balloon numbers should, I believe they will coordinate with, yep, they should, it makes sense with my BOM. Okay, so you can obviously add balloons and mess around with that, but let's go on to doing a multi-view drawing. So I'm going to click New Sheet again, and I'm going to right click here, rename this, and I'm going to do the blue piece. So this will be the blue multi-view drawing. Okay, so I'm going to insert a view, and I don't want the assembly, so this is where I have to hit the little insert button next to it so that I can go back to this area where I'm selecting from. So it had been on assemblies, and I'm back to Part Studios, and now I can choose the blue part. The view orientation is, I'll just leave it as front. I'll go ahead and bring that on first. I'm going to leave the scale as 1:1, and I'm going to put it kind of right about here. I give it a second, and then I can go ahead and go straight up. If I want to project from there, it automatically is allowing me to project based on that first view. So I'll get my top view right there. And it no longer is having me automatically project. Okay, so projection is on still. You see it's grayed there. I'm just going to come back and select my front view, and then come to the right if I want a front top right and an isometric. So I'll do this. Creates it. Again, projected view is still on. I'm going to come click right here and then give myself that isometric. Okay, and on the isometric, I got to turn off that tool, so I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to right click and say show shaded view. This should feel very, very similar to what you guys have done using Autodesk Inventor in my class. From here I can go ahead and add dimensions. There is some other options underneath dimensions. So for us, just leaving on the basic dimension tool, but as you guys do more complicated drawings and parts, just be mindful that anytime you see those little arrows, that means it's a drop down and there's other options that you can be looking at. So dimensioning's pretty easy. I can just say dimension, I'll do a few here, the overall width, the overall height. Again, I'm putting my dimensions in between views, that's the desired place. My overall depth, and give some more. So I'm going to get those two. So this would be like using chain dimensioning. I don't need that third one because it's already been determined if you take the difference between the whole and then those two features. And this will be more like baseline dimensioning. I'll dimension all my heights relative to the bottom. So I've got all my heights dimensioned, all of my widths, and there's only one depth. So there is a multi-view drawing. So that's pretty cool. Let's see, on the drawing sheets, maybe something else that I had seen when let me go back to the first one with that big title block. I was able to come in here and kind of check out the title block, and I see that they've already got tolerance notes for us, and we just have to edit and provide if we want to go ahead and give a tolerance. So this note is saying, right, if a dimension is listed down to the 100th versus the 1000th or the 10,000th, what would be the tolerance for those dimensions as they're noted. But I can, was it just right click? Yep, I can right click on that and edit note, and I can get right in. Out. Can you see my cursor? So I'm arrowing to the right. I can get my cursor in there, and I can replace those hyphens. I'm just using backspace or delete, and I can type in my own numbers. Okay, so you could create your own tolerance nodes right there. And then these are global tolerance nodes. If you ever have a tolerance that is not to follow these rules, then you would give it with the dimension, of course. So there you go. There's just a quick overview of starting to create your drawing page, or pages, all the sheets underneath that drawing tab. So